Welcome. Ukraine has recently enacted a mobilization law to bolster its troop numbers in response to a new offensive from Russia. Over 500,000 Russian troops have been amassed on the front line, posing a significant threat to Kyiv. The draft age for men has been lowered from 27 to 25 as part of this effort to strengthen Ukraine's defense.
Ukraine has brought in a mobilization law to boost troop numbers amid a new offensive from Russia that has seen more than 500,000 troops amassed on the front line in a dramatic bid to overpower Kiev. The legislation, which was watered down from its original draft, will make it easier to identify every conscript in the country. It also provides incentives to soldiers, such as cash bonuses or money towards buying a house or car, that some analysts say Ukraine cannot afford. Ukraine's parliamentarians dragged their feet for months and only passed the law in mid-April, a week after Ukraine lowered the age for men who can be drafted from 27 to 25. The measures reflect the growing strain that more than 2 years of war with Russia has had on Ukraine's forces, who are trying to hold the front lines in fighting that has sapped the country's ranks and stores of weapons and ammunition. Most notably, Vladimir Putin's army significantly outnumbers Ukraine's Western-backed troops, which experts say poses a serious threat to Kiev. Dr. Jack Watling from the Royal United Services Institute, RUSI, said, "The Russian forces have now expanded to 510,000 troops. The outlook for Ukraine is bleak. Its allies must replenish stockpiles." The warning came earlier this week as Russia continued its advances in northern Ukraine, which threatened the country's second city, Kharkiv. Defense Secretary Grant Shapps suggested the advances had caught the West napping. Alongside the mobilization law, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy also signed 2 other laws on Friday, allowing prisoners to join the army and increasing fines for draft dodgers 5-fold. Russia enlisted its prisoners early on in the war, and personnel shortages compelled Ukraine to adopt the new measures. Oleksiy Tarasenko, a deputy commander of a Ukrainian assault battalion, said that his men felt awful about the law's failure to address the issue of demobilization. Although many Ukrainian troops have been fighting since the war's early days, it remains unclear when and how they might be relieved of duty. It feels like a cruel injustice towards people who have been fighting for 2 years, and of course, it has a highly negative effect on the psychological state of soldiers and their families, Mr. Tarasenko said. Early drafts of the law envisaged the demobilization of troops after 36 months and the rotation of those serving on the front line for more than half a year. These clauses were dropped following a last-minute appeal by Ukraine's military leadership, concerned that the armed forces would be left without their best-trained and most experienced troops. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry is working on a separate demobilization law. Mr. Tarasenko said that despite their weariness, his comrades could see the general's point. "We already see how many people are lacking, especially professional troops in the units. And simply allowing such professional people who have been through a lot to demobilize would be wrong," he said. Russian troops, meanwhile, are pushing ahead with a ground offensive that opened a new front in northeastern Ukraine's Kharkiv region and put further pressure on Kyiv's overstretched military. After weeks of probing, Moscow launched the new push, knowing that Ukraine suffered personnel shortages and that its forces have been spread thin in the northeast. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Friday, during a visit to China, that the Russian push aims to create a buffer zone rather than capturing Kharkiv, the local capital and Ukraine's second-largest city. Still, Moscow's forces have pummeled Kharkiv with strikes in recent weeks, hitting civilian and energy infrastructure and prompting angry accusations from Mr. Zelenskyy that the Russian leadership sought to reduce the city to rubble. On Friday, Mayor Ihor Terekhov said that Russian-guided bombs killed at least 3 residents and injured 28 others that day. Moscow denies deliberately targeting civilians, but thousands have died or suffered injuries in the more than 27 months of fighting. Kharkiv Regional Governor Ihor Sinyahubov on Saturday said that nearly 10,000 civilians had to be evacuated from frontline areas near the Russian border. Only 100 residents remain in Vovchansk, the border town at the center of Moscow's grinding push that is now largely in ruins. The town had a pre-war population of more than 17,400. The US last week announced a new $400 million package of military aid for Ukraine, and President Joe Biden has promised that he would rush badly needed weaponry to the country to help it stave off Russian advances. Still, only small batches of US military aid have started to trickle into the front line, according to Ukrainian military commanders, who said it will take at least 2 months before supplies meet Kyiv's needs to hold the line. Thousands of Ukrainians have fled the country to avoid the draft since Russia's all-out invasion in February 2022, some risking their lives as they tried to swim across a river separating Ukraine from neighboring Romania and Hungary. Late on Friday, Ukraine's border service said that at least 30 people have died trying to cross the Tisa River since the full-scale invasion. Romanian border guards days earlier retrieved the near-naked, disfigured body of a man that appeared to have been floating in the Tisa for days, and is the 30th known casualty, the Ukrainian agency said in an online statement. It said the man has not yet been identified. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest releases. See you in the next video.